just walking out of Creede, Colorado, and by a happy accident I ran into the person responsible for the mining museum that is just out of town, and I did learn a lot about how this town and this region kind of came about. And Creede, that's probably a lot of the towns up here in Colorado, primarily developed because it was a mining town in the late 19th and all the way through the 20th century, with the last mines closing down in 1985. Now, Creede got its name from the person who just came through here and apparently stumbled upon both silver and amethyst lodes, and that is what has been mined here for about a century. And there's still an estimated 70% of the silver in the ground here up in the mountains, but since the mines closed in 1985 and a lot of things have changed since, mostly about safety and environmental regulations, and also because the infrastructure around the mines, such as housing and roads, has not really been well maintained and decayed for a while. There's apparently a lot of puzzle pieces that will be required to reopen these mines, which would significantly change the economic landscape of this region. So apparently there's been talk about this because the silver price would actually be there, but I guess it would probably require a huge amount of investment to get this going again. Now the plan for today is following the rest of the Creede cut off up onto the ridge, which is about 10 miles, and then climb San Luis Peak. So San Luis Peak is the first 14er that I'll be climbing here in Colorado. So it's just north of 14,000 feet, which is around 4,200, 4,300 meters. And then from there I'll continue down into the valley. There's a little bakery in Creede. I got a raspberry Danish, a breakfast roll, and a butter croissant. So I'm well strapped, and I also have about 5 days of food supply with me, because the stretch to Monarch Pass that I'm embarking on right now is a little more than 100 miles from here. So neat. The trail goes up this canyon. You can kind of see both on the right and on the left of those mountains the old mining structures and the entrances to the mining shafts. It's really one of those happy accidents to get to be able to walk through these regions and just see how they developed over the last 150 years. And it's really just by accident that I'm stumbling across this. I don't regret taking this alternate at all, because I would never have gotten to this place if I wouldn't just hike through it. Wow, that climb out of Creede has a kick to it. Gee, you wouldn't get up there with a normal car, that's for sure. Creede, once again, just as so many other encounters along this trail, has once again proven the one big surprise for me on this trail really are just the random encounters with people along the way. So in Creede, I was sitting at the outfitter at the bar, just having my beer, waiting for my laundry. And just as I'm packing up, just a stranger walks up to me, starts talking to me what I'm doing there. We start to talk about the hike and all of that. And eventually he asks me, so where are you staying? And Creede, traditionally through hikers in Creede, because it's such a tiny town and it's Colorado priced, most through hikers stay on the local baseball field. Either they pitch their tent or they just cowboy camp in the dugouts. And that is generally accepted by the community and the sheriff. And he almost sounded like offended that we would come to his town and then have to sleep on the baseball field. So he he insisted and offered me to just stay at his place. He said, I got a beautiful flat lawn. I got a shed with a roof if the weather turns sideways. So he just walked up to me to offer me camping in his yard, which I ended up doing. Had a very interesting conversation with him, actually several interesting conversations with him, and just this random generosity of strangers is baffling to me over and over again. As an economist, I also find it fascinating how economic developments massively change the development of regions such as this one. So the mines up here in those mountains, they struck primarily silver and amethysts, whereas amethysts are just essentially a pretty jewel. Doesn't really have any meaningful applications. Silver obviously does have both industrial and monetary applications. And if you look back at the history of silver and silver prices in particular, there are two events that really stand out. One was the decision of the US government to include silver into the, I guess, metallic mixture of the dollar in around 1870. That massively increased the demand for silver and put a whole bunch of capital expenditure into the extraction of silver. Now, as this valley was one of the few in the country that did produce silver, it massively changed how the town environment, the culture in this area developed. Now, with the repeal of that decision in about 1890, so 20 years later, that was the first economic shock to the mining structure of this valley and led to a lot of closures and abandonment of mines. Now, a second similar situation happened in around 1980. That time not run by a government decision, but just by speculation on the precious metal markets, which again led to the fact that silver prices just went into free fall, which eventually led to the closure of all of the mines up in this valley in 1985. And so for the last 40 years, this region has had a huge structural shift from being a vibrant mining town with employment opportunity and all of the associated supply chain businesses to a region that has essentially almost no industry left and is slowly converting to just a rural, tiny village that has a little bit of tourism, fishing, and other recreational opportunities. It's not too different actually from what's happening in Switzerland, in regions where winter tourism is not possible anymore. These regions will have a very similar process in the next couple of decades. It's 12 o'clock and I've made it a fair bit up the mountain. You can see up there, that's the ridge line where I'm climbing to. Currently I'm at 11,000 feet. So it's 3,000 to go to San Luis Peak. As you can see, it's a forest road going up here to the trailhead. And this morning there was a whole armada of ATVs zipping up here. So I expect there's going to be quite a few day hikers here who shuttled up to the ridge line and then just do the walk up to San Luis, but we'll see. Charma for me was what's called a Nero. I came into town yesterday around lunchtime, 11:30, and spent the afternoon in town running errands, laundry, shopping, all of those things, having a few beer with fellow hikers, and sleep in town. And this morning I waited for stores to open, had a good cup of coffee, breakfast croissant, and some carry out that I'm having along the way today. So I didn't spend an entire day in town, so not a 0, but just a 0. That is somewhat relaxing. Obviously not as much as if you actually have an entire day there, but sometimes you just want to get going. And there's particularly the decision to get breakfast this morning and enjoy the town amenities has caused me to leave town only at 9 o'clock rather than at 6 or 6:30 when I usually get going. And due to that, the timing for this stretch is not really ideal for me. This time of year, the weather in the Colorado mountains is pretty much always the same. It's good in the morning, and then there is bigger or slightly less big chances of thunderstorms and rain in the afternoon. So if you want to do something like a Fortina or any other big peak, the ideal way to do is get up real early, get up high in the morning, and get down as soon as possible. Now, I'm not even at the bottom of the San Luis cutoff, and it's already 1:30, and I even didn't have my lunch break either. So I think I'll probably get there maybe around 4, which is not ideal. But it doesn't really matter that much, because there's also another trail that goes around San Luis Peak, so I don't actually have to summit it if the weather conditions look bad by the time I get there. But I would really regret that, because I do want to do it. But we'll see how it looks in a few hours. Woohoo! I finally made it to the junction. Back on the red line, back on the Colorado Trail. Well, this is it. So the trail continues through here, goes up to that saddle on the other side, up to that saddle over there, and then all the way up that ridge to the top of San Luis Peak. Across this valley here, 1 out of 2. Now it's up to this saddle, then another one, and then it's decision time. If you look at that ridge line, you can tell why you don't want to get caught in a lightning storm up on there, because you can't get down fast. Alright, a little bit of snow left, but perfect. Trench, no post holding, probably, hopefully. I was just about to comment on this traverse. That is just tiny patches, mostly stable. And then there's this one patch, 25 meters. Every step broke out. Let me count. 1, 2, 3 patches left. It wouldn't be the CDT. It wouldn't be. I made it to the cutoff. That's where we came from. I came from. Now this would be the road up there. It's pretty dark. I'm not sure what to make of this. It's kind of what it has been all the afternoon. Blue, like over here. Black, gray, like over here. But I haven't heard a thunder or lightning anywhere, so I'm a bit unsure. This is where the red line would actually continue. Goes down into that valley and then crosses that. Well, it's just one of those things, right? So I'm sitting right at the bottom of San Luis Peak, and I'm kind of making an assessment whether it's worth going up and over or just hit the red line. I mean, I did really push hard to get here. I took almost 0 breaks, and I've come all the way from Chalma to make it here. But it's already 4 o'clock, so I got about 3.5 hours of daylight left. That entire trip over the San Luis Peak is about 4 miles and 1,300 vertical feet of climbing, and then descending on the other side, and also having to find a campsite, so that I will not just have to get down, I'll actually have to get down to the valley. Weather is unclear and unstable. You can see it behind me. I just checked the forecast, and it's one of those things fantastically unhelpful. 4 different models, 2 of them say it's gonna rain and thunder, 2 of them say it's just gonna be very dark clouds. Now the other issue, I kind of misjudged the water situation. I only have 2 cups of water left, and I'm pretty sure that there's not going to be a water source anywhere near the next 4 or 5 miles. Probably try to see if one of those snow patches that are around have a little bit of outflow that I could siphon off from. I have to take a break anyway, and eat and kind of rest a little bit. So I'm just hoping that that weather clears up a little bit, because that will really make it a lot easier. The other issue is there's not really an alternative. So once I get going up on that mountain, it's just either go for it or go back. Those are really the only 2 options. So no bailout possible. That's my current thinking. Well, it just started storming and hailing too. And if you look northwest, where the weather is coming from, it doesn't really look any better. It's really pissing me off a little bit. I don't know, man. It was a stupid idea. I'm so mad right now. This doesn't make any sense. I should probably explain a few things. So I think it's obvious that I took the decision to not ascend San Luis Peak. Conditions didn't seem right. Margin of error too slim. And why was I so furious? Perhaps it's important to understand the background. So when I got into town yesterday at lunch, I was really exhausted. The last 2 days were really, I don't know, they were just tiring. So I was really, my primary need at that point was to relax and rest. And so I didn't do much. I did all my errands, but I didn't do much aside from just eat, drink, sit around and relax. And my second need was because it's a long stretch coming up to Monarch Pass, which is going to be exhausting again. So I also didn't want to rush out of there. I wanted to enjoy the amenities of town. So I waited till the cafe opened in the morning, had a cappuccino, sat in the sun, got some pastries to take out, and just use what towns have to offer. And so that led to me leaving town at 9 something. And then I just walked into the first employee of the mining museum, who opened up for me. So I spent some time there. So I left town probably at 10 or something. And that's all good and fine. And ascending San Luis Peak wasn't really my primary goal either. So I really only realized yesterday when I looked at the map that it's right off the red trail, and it would be I mean, just a pretty easy ascent. Is right there. If the conditions are good, you can just walk up. It's not even very far, and it also you can cross over it and then head back down on the other side and walk into a valley parallel to the red line and reconnect with the red line, so you don't have to walk the same thing twice. So the idea to actually do that was more of a, hey, yeah, no, that's, if it works, great, let's do that. And then today, however, I don't know, it's just I really hauled ass. I mean, I pushed hard all day. I took almost no breaks. I did the entire climb out of Creede, which is long, steep, and arduous, just in full force, just to put myself in a position to actually do that. And then just getting to the saddle right below the summit, and then just having the conditions not be right, it was just a huge disappointment. And don't get me wrong, I mean, the whole thing was obviously a planning error. Some of you said that also like to know a little bit more about my background. So one part about my background is I'm also a hiking guide with the Swiss Alpine Association, and so I'm really used to planning trips with a certain goal, and this was an obvious planning error if the goal would have been to ascend San Luis Peak. I mean, I knew that the weather was unstable in the afternoon. It was clear. I knew how long it would be and how hard the climb would be up there. And I could have left town at 6. I could have hitched an ATV up that valley and then just shortened the ascent to the saddle to get there earlier. All of these would have been at my disposal. So I guess, yeah. I hope this kind of explains why I was so frustrated. There's not really a reason to be frustrated. I mean, there's other 14ers along the way, and there's more chances to hike up mountains here. And I mean, I'm hiking up mountains all day long anyway. So, I mean, who gives a fuck if it's 14 or 13 something? It doesn't really. It's arbitrary at the end of the day. But it would have been nice anyway. And yeah, I guess it's also. The disappointment primarily came from the fact that I really tried hard to put myself in a good position to be able to do this, and then it didn't work after all.